The economic tug-of-war, Trump versus Powell explained. When it comes to the history of the U.S. economy, few figures are as controversial as Arthur Burns. Serving as the head of the Federal Reserve from 1970 to 1978, Burns found himself at the helm during one of the most tumultuous periods in American economic history. Inflation spiraled out of control, leading to the dreaded stagflation, a toxic mix of soaring prices and stagnant growth that left the economy reeling, reminiscent of the Great Depression's darkest days. Burns didn't just face criticism for his inability to rein in inflation. He was also seen as a puppet of President Richard Nixon. Many believe he kept interest rates artificially low to help Nixon secure re-election in 1972, a move that backfired spectacularly. Nixon, who had previously blamed his 1960 defeat on the Fed's tight monetary policy, was vocal about his desire for lower rates, creating a tense relationship that echoes in today's political landscape. The inflation crisis of the 1970s had many causes, including oil price shocks that rendered Nixon's wage and price controls ineffective. Yet, Burns' hesitant response, whether due to genuine concern for employment or political pressure, ultimately led to his downfall. He was replaced by Paul Volcker, who took a much harsher approach, raising interest rates to nearly 20% in 1981. This drastic measure plunged the economy into a deep recession, but ultimately succeeded in taming inflation. Today, Volcker is hailed as a hero, while Burns is often cast as the villain of the story. Fast forward to today, and Jerome Powell, the current Fed chair, is determined to avoid the same fate as Burns. Powell is navigating a minefield of political pressure from the White House, arguably more intense than what Burns faced. The threat of dismissal looms over him, and the personal attacks from Trump have reached levels that would have been unimaginable in the 1970s. Under U.S. law, the Fed chair can only be removed for serious misconduct, not for policy disagreements. However, Trump's team has hinted at a willingness to challenge this legal precedent, suggesting a potential reinterpretation of the rules. Recently, after Powell warned that Trump's tariffs could stoke inflation and hinder growth, Trump retaliated by calling him a major loser and expressing a desire for his termination. This verbal sparring sent shockwaves through the stock market, as investors reacted not just to the potential economic fallout from tariffs, but to the unsettling idea that the White House might encroach on the Fed's independence. Trump has been testing the limits of the U.S. constitutional system, bypassing Congress with executive orders and ignoring court rulings, and now he seems intent on undermining the Fed's autonomy. In a surprising twist, after witnessing the market's negative reaction and receiving advice that firing Powell could backfire, Trump backed off, claiming he had no intention of dismissing him. The Fed is designed to operate independently from government influence, allowing it to set interest rates without succumbing to political pressures. This separation is crucial, as governments often favor low rates to stimulate growth, even if it risks higher inflation down the line. Interestingly, Trump nominated Powell for his current position in 2017, but their relationship has soured since then. Just recently, Trump took to social media, demanding, "Cut interest rates, Jerome, and stop playing politics." He and some of his advisors believe that the Fed's decision to lower rates during the latter part of the Biden administration, while not during Trump's term, was politically motivated. Powell, however, firmly denies any political influence in the Fed's monetary policy decisions. As it stands, the Fed has resisted the pressure to cut rates, maintaining them at 4.25 to 4.5% during its last two meetings, citing economic uncertainty. With the U.S. economy facing a troubling outlook, the stakes are high for both Trump and Powell. The next Fed meeting on May 6th and 7th is shaping up to be a critical moment. Who will blink first? Recent inflation data has shown some promise, with rates dropping to 2.4% in March, lower than expected. This decline is largely attributed to falling energy prices, which have been on the decline for the past 2 months due to fears of a slowing global economy amid ongoing trade wars. However, the impact of tariffs often takes time to materialize, as companies have been stockpiling goods ahead of deadlines, meaning consumers may not yet feel the pinch of rising prices on store shelves. The tension between Trump and Powell continues to unfold, and the economic implications are far-reaching.